In this video, we're going to do a few examples from lesson 4.5. Now, before we do that, we need to remember that lesson 4.5 is all about dilations. So remember, dilations, those are transformations in which a figure is enlarged or reduced with respect to a fixed point. So this changes the size of our figure about the center of dilation. Now for us, our center of dilation will always be the origin, 0, 0, but that's going to be the fixed point, the center of dilation. In order to do a dilation, you always need to know what the scale factor is, and that's the ratio of the lengths of the corresponding sides of the image and the pre-image. And so you can find the scale factor by taking a length on the image and dividing it by a length on the pre-image. In order to tell if you have an enlargement or a reduction, if your figure gets bigger, it means the scale factor is greater than 1, so you have an enlargement. And if your figure gets smaller and your scale factor is a number between 0 and 1, so less than 1, it is a reduction. Okay? So keep in mind the scale factor. To find that, we can take an image length and divide it by a pre-image length that it corresponds to. So we're going to go ahead and turn to page 115 in our student journal, and we're going to work through 1 through 3, and then we're going to practice doing a few dilations ourselves. So we're on page 115. In 1 through 3, find the scale factor of the dilation. Tell whether the dilation is a reduction or an enlargement. So remember our scale factor K, that's going to be equal to the ratio of the distance from the center of dilation to the image. They usually call that the distance from C to P, divided by the distance from C to P prime, divided by the distance from C to P, the distance from your center of dilation to your pre-image. Another way to think about that is you can find the scale factor by taking a length on the image and dividing it by a length on the pre-image. So that's what we're going to do in 1, 2, and 3. Okay, to tell what the image is and the pre-image is, we're going to look for those primes. Right, so we have a figure here. I can tell it starts out as this larger pyramid because point P without the prime is on that pyramid. And that distance is 4 from C to P. And then the smaller pyramid here is the image. And I can tell that because P has a prime next to it. And so that distance from C to P prime, notice this distance is 2. And if the whole distance is 4, if I subtract 4 minus 2, that tells me that this length is 2. So to find the scale factor, we're going to take this distance from C to the image point, which is 2, and divide it by the length or the distance from C to the pre-image point, which is 4. 2 divided by 4 simplifies to 1/2. So my scale factor is 1/2. And what this tells me is I have a reduction because my scale factor is a fraction less than 1. And it makes sense because I can tell that my figure got smaller after the dilation. In number 2, we're going to find the scale factor doing the same thing. So first I need to find the distance from C to P prime. That's the distance from the center of dilation to the image, so 25. And I need to divide that by the distance from C to a point on the pre-image, which is P. That distance is 20. And so when I go ahead and I divide, I get that the scale factor is 1.25. This means that my dilation is an enlargement because my scale factor is a number greater than 1. And I can tell in the picture that my triangle gets larger after the dilation. All right, and number 3, again, we're going to find the distance from the center of dilation to the point on the image. So from C to P prime, that's a distance of 27. And we're going to divide that by the distance from C to P, the point on the pre-image. That distance, they tell us, is 9. When I divide, I get a scale factor of 3. This tells me that we have an enlargement because the scale factor is greater than 1. And I can also see that my pre-image gets larger after the dilation. So now we're actually going to go ahead and do some dilations on the coordinate plane. Before we do that, remember to do a dilation, whatever our x and y coordinates are on our pre-image, to get our new x and y coordinates of each point, we simply multiply the x and y coordinates by our scale factor. So whatever the scale factor is, we're going to multiply it by the x and y coordinates to get our new x and y coordinates of our image. So in number 4, it says, graph the polygon and its image after a dilation with scale factor k. Let's go ahead and first plot our pre-image on the graph. A is at -3, +1. B is at -4, -1. And C is at -2, -1. My scale factor is 2, which is a number greater than 1, so I'm going to expect this pre-image to get larger. So what we're going to do is to get our new x and y coordinates of our image points, we need to take our starting x and y coordinates and multiply them by 2. So all we're going to do is times all my x and y coordinates by 2. Okay. So to get A prime, -3 times 2 is -6, and 1 times 2 is 2. We're going to do the same thing to B. To get B prime, times the x and the y coordinates by 2. -4 times 2 is -8. -1 times 2 is -2. Let's do the same thing to C. -2 times 2 is -4. And -1 times 2 is -2. Let's go ahead and plot our image. A prime is at -6, +2. B prime is at -8, -2. And C prime is at -4, -2. And I've completed my dilation.